Hello and welcome to our next video. Now in this lesson, we're going to go ahead and start making our page a little more robust by adding some columns. But before we add some columns, I want to take a look at the cheat sheet, which you should have gotten from Lecture 9, which gives us the ability to just take a quick look at what's going on within Bootstrap. So with Bootstrap, the system itself has expected that there would be 4 different device sizes that it handles in its layouts. And it works with a grid, and each grid has 12 slots in each row for columns. And so what we can actually do is span columns, and depending on the size, we can actually have different numbers of columns spanned. So if we wanted to, we could actually have a larger column show up on the large layout, but then as we go to a smaller layout, maybe that one gets proportionally bigger in the actual 12, so that we can make sure that certain things are rendered on different devices the way that we need them to be. Now with that, it's very important to take a look at what's going on. So we have large devices which run at about 1200 pixels or better. Now that's going to be, of course, a desktop monitor or a larger screen at 1200 pixels. Obviously, it'd be a monitor or bigger. And the medium devices then are going to be a small monitor or a larger tablet running at about 992 to 1199 pixels. And the small devices then would be, your medium-sized tablets, 768 to 991. And then your extra small devices are going to be anything less than 767 pixels. And so essentially all of your phones are going to line up in the extra small devices. And so what you'll see as I'm writing these columns is that I don't often handle anything for the extra small. Essentially laying this out on the desktop here, most of the time the extra small is just going to compress and be stacked, and we'll see that as we build it. So you'll see what I mean, and basically we'll just stack the columns. And what we'll see is that as we have larger devices, or as we spread this out, we might get a bigger display that actually gives us the ability to see some of these columns spreading out and going forward. What's most important to note is that each column is built using a class. So here we have column large with a number behind it. Now that number is replaced, of course, by the number of columns you want to span, anywhere from 1 to 12. And you have to have as many as you want. You can never go over 12. You can be less than 12. But if you're less than 12 in your total column spans, you won't fill up the entire column, and that might be okay depending on what you're trying to do. So what you'll often see is column large 6 to make a column combination, 2 columns for 12. And we'll see that right away when we start building our rows. So let's go ahead and we'll take our rows and we'll copy it and we'll rename that to columns. Now we probably won't come back to rows, but you never know. And let's go ahead and edit this in our expression web. And I'm in the split view so that we can see as we start changing things here, the layout should start to change as well. Now to save a little time, I'm going to just copy and paste some code in, and we'll go over it so you can be typing it as you're seeing it, and also the resource that we get done with at the end of each of these lectures, of course, will be available to you, so you could grab it from there as well. And I know I told you to type as we go, and that's a good idea too, so I would type this out on your own. But we want to save a little time here, so I'm just going to copy and paste a few things. So right now, let's look at that. Here we have our first row, and our first row is going to have 1 column, and this 1 column is going to span all 12, no matter what size we're on here, large, medium, or small. And I'm giving them colors so that we can simply see some differences as we go. There's row 1, column 1. You can see now it actually aligned the code a little better, or the layout, or the print, or whatever you want to call that. And our row 2 and row 3 still looking like they need a little help. So for row 2, let's go ahead and grab row 2 here. And let's put a little space in there just so we can easily keep these rows separated. And you can see here row 2 has 2 columns. Now before I go any further, I want to make sure that this is actually working. You can see it laid out here in this page. You see that row 1, column 1, row 2, column 1, and row 2, column 2 are all stacked. And so right now we can't really tell, are they being responsive? Well, let's look at our page, and this is our columns page, and let's see what happens as we start expanding our page. You can see now as our page gets larger, our rows are actually spanning the columns like they're supposed to, and as we go smaller, our columns are going to actually just stack. So there's our extra small, probably into small, and here we probably hit a medium and large. So we're probably doing pretty good there. And again, row 3 is still not doing anything because we haven't coded that. So before I do anything with row 3 officially for our next lesson, I want to go ahead and just mess around a little bit. So here's row 3 with a couple of 6 columns. Let's change this a little bit so we can see how this might work. So let's change this to be row 3, column 1, row 3, row 3, column 2. And let's actually add in 2 more columns into row 3, just so you can see they don't have to be evenly spaced or sized. And let's do on large, let's go 4, 3, and that's 7, so we have 5 left to go, 3 and 2. So they don't have to be anything evenly sized, and we can start messing around with that. And then let's go 3, 2, 2. Actually, we could line these up exactly the same size, 4, 3, 3, and 2 for medium. Just so you know, they don't have to be the same. They can be. So we could actually go 4, 3, 4, and 1 if we wanted to. On the medium, let's do that. And then on the smalls, let's go 2, 2, 2, and 6. So for whatever reason, we need that right-hand column on the small size to be showing up bigger. Now let's see if this actually works. So a little live coding here never hurt anybody, right? So you can see now we actually have a wrap there because that's so small it actually dropped down and wrapped, but that's okay. But you can see that our page was able to render, and our columns are going to split. They stack on small, and so small, extra small, and then we hit the small here or medium, and you can see that we're starting to see a little bit more spanning, and then as we continue to get large, you can see it continue to grow throughout there, and as we get to the largest width when we can actually print everything, there's no more drop down. But you can see that gives us the ability to have different column widths based on the size. You can see that's a little bit wider there than it is when we're on the large. So and just a couple things to look at, but essentially it gives us the ability to mess around and do whatever we need to do. So basically, that's all we need to really look at to get started with our rows. So I'm going to stop there, and then that's all we need for our columns. And so I'll stop there, and next time we'll pick up where we left off. Thank you very much. We'll see you then.